Hello and welcome to another edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Esther Mokwariola. Today on the program, United States warns against violence during the Anambra governorship election, vows to impose visa ban, other sanctions against riggers and troublemakers. Governor Sanwo-Olu sets up 6-man probe panel to investigate Lagos building collapse as death toll rises. And later on the show, kidnappers of University of Abuja lecturers demand 300 million naira ransom for their release, while 2 policemen, 1 soldier, got killed as ISWAP attacks Borno community. I will be hanging out with Tunde Abaton and Shola Ujewusi. Journalist Hangout starts now. Now, concerned parties in the conduct of Anambra state governorship election are upbeat about readiness for the smooth exercise on Saturday, even in the face of threats. The United States has lent its voice to the need for a credible conduct of the election. And ahead of the election, the United States has threatened to impose visa restrictions on not only election riggers and troublemakers in the state, but also on individuals who would interfere with the election or instigate violence against the people before, during and after the poll. And according to a statement by the United States in Abuja, visa restrictions would also be extended to family members of such politicians found guilty of undermining the democratic process. Now, Tunde, let's look at the election process, starting off very quickly in Anambra State. Let's look at the new device that will be introduced. Yes. That's a biometric voter accreditation system, which will be used as against a smart card reader. You know, what are the areas of concern do you think must be considered to ensure this device is utilized effectively during the polls?
Yeah, but I think the most important thing is that in any particular political system, all players must learn and decide to abide by the rules of the game. We must all play by the rules of the game, because except we play by the rules of the game, we cannot get democracy. This is like a testing the water, this biometric voter system. It's like testing the waters for what is to come. And it's not only a test for the resilience of the INEC as a body, it's also a test for the decision and the attitude of politicians, stakeholders, and the general public to abide and play by the rules of the game. When we play by the rules of the game, there's no need for violence. And the mere fact that we are using this system for the first time also means that it makes the process less cumbersome. Less cumbersome in the sense that there's no need for saying that the voters, the other device is not working. The smart card readers. There are times it may function. There are times, in most cases, a polling booth that is supposed to take 500, it may say it's only 300. Later on, I could remember 2023 election, some people just decide to use the voters register and others. So, like I said, I think it is a litmus test for this system and for the INEC and for the players all. Let all play by the rules of the game. And in view of the fact that, we know that a lot of violence has preceded the events in Anambra State. All parties to this must ensure that we play by the rules of the game so that we can save and have democracy. Because it is very, very crucial to our sustenance. If we don't get it right, there may not be enough guarantee that the same system will be used in 18 months' time when we have the general election. So it is a litmus test for the INEC, for the politicians, for the stakeholders, and for the public as well, because the public is also plays a crucial role in helping to farm up the system. Right.
So, Shola, let's look at, INEC saying that this new device is to guard against voting by identity theft, where one person uses one person's PVC to vote during using incident form. Now, with this development, the use of incident form, we understand, is abolished. So how confident are you with this arrangement that it will reduce the cases of election rigging going forward?
Yeah, my confidence, well, I would like to use the kind of keep my fingers crossed approach. But I believe INEC has really done its own work, because we're going technology, the technological way, using biometrics. There must have been a lot of crash courses in-house, a lot of training for this staff, both the regular and the ad hoc staff, to be able to handle this thing properly. Yeah, biometrics is a very effective way of doing this kind of thing. We'll be having issues with multiple voting and all those problems that really led to crisis in the past. If we're able to get through this and do it well, I think it's going to be a very right step. I mean, a step in the right direction. At least we can have some level of confidence in the process that's coming up on Saturday. Having said that, the question I will still throw back to INEC, are you really sure you've done your homework well? The eye of the world is upon INEC and on Anambra. We have been having fears about some volatile situations, and that's why you have a country like the US saying, if you don't do this, we have a way of sanctioning you. So all hands must be on deck. What has been taught to the staff of INEC must be put to proper use on Saturday. There should be no reason for them to have to say something about any hanky-panky, because the process should be, when it comes to biometrics, the process should be very clear. Because there is no way, by the law of nature, biometric works with nature. We may look alike, but we're not entirely the same. So if you vote, you remain your unique self, and that's what biometric does. So if you go back, it identifies you as having voted before. So there will not be any reason for anybody to say there is double voting, whatever, or any. So I think INEC has its work cut out. It's not left for them to be able to put it to proper use. But we also thought we need, beyond INEC, we also have to talk to the team players,
right?
Those on the field on Saturday, the juggernauts of the different parties contesting this election. They have to understand that it's not the end of the world. We are already having the countdown to 2023. Already a lot is being said about the nation being volatile. Some people are already saying the house is about to crash. So the onus is on the players to make sure that they do the right thing and let the process work. Let us do the right thing for our democracy. Let us do the right thing for our nation. Anambra is being put up as a place where, you cannot be sure, but I think the people of Anambra can do the best thing for their own state. And it will be a sign of what is going to come in other parts of the region. So all hands, both the umpires and also the players, must make sure they play their role and do it patriotically.
Right.
Biometrics will be a good thing if it is well handled. That's my take for now.
Absolutely. Now, Tunde, let's look at the issue of security, where the United States, we understand, has vowed sanctions, including visa restrictions on anyone and their families instigating violence in the governorship poll in Anambra State. Now, how far do you think this will go in ensuring a smooth election exercise in Anambra?
You will agree with me that this is not the first time that we are having elections in Nigeria. And this is not the first time interested parties, foreign nations, want us to play by the rules of the game. During the 2015 election, the United States did say the same thing. In fact, the UK and the European Union. When you look at the past 15 years, we started having foreign observers in Nigeria to observe how we have abide by the rules of the game. So what the US have done is not new, but they are only re-emphasizing their position. But the most important thing is that it's not about saying that thing. It's about the fact that we remove the spirit of conspiracy from our players, the politicians, the INEC officials who have to be upright and play by the rules of the game, and the public generally. So this is not the first time. The most important thing is that we make sure that all these things are effective. Because yes, the normal voting populace, those who are queuing up, they are not interested in going to America or London. Those who are interested, that thing is targeted to, are probably the INEC officials and all the political parties, the major players in all the political parties. Because when we are talking of rigging now, it doesn't stop with people who are casting their vote. It also extends to the major players, the political party, the combatants who have seen election in Nigeria as a do-or-die affair. I think that is the most important. And that do-or-die spirit is what leads to the issue of people want to win by all means. When you are using biometric, you are saying all these things. Why must you snatch ballot box? Even when you are using reader's card, there's no need for snatching any ballot box. Except of course you have prepared the location where you are going to house some people and put them there. So the thing is that, yes, it is good for America, but what we have to know is that if we allow democracy to have its way, there's no perfect system anywhere in the world. Then players will not use too much resources. They will not spend too much resources making sure that they are elected. It is when people spend too much resources to make sure that they are elected that leads to violence, that leads to rigging, and that leads to snatching of ballot box, and to leads to the bending of the rules for a particular person. So that warning is in order, because this is not the first time they are issuing that particular warning. I think it is more or less for our umpires, the INEC, and the government, either the ruling, especially the ruling government, to play by the rules of the game. Because an opponent, somebody who is in opposition, has less capacity for rigging election. But the ruling government, at any point in time, when they are interested, they can bend the rules of the game. So the capacity to rig election rests more on the government that is in power. So let us all play by the rules of the game. Because you cannot rig an election, or you cannot even attempt to rig where you are weak.
Indeed, I understand we have our correspondent, Ayodele Zubakun, and he joins us now from Awka in Anambra State. Ayo, you're live now. Please give us an update on what we're to expect on Saturday.
Thank you, Esther. We are counting down. It's like 48 hours to the election, and things are taking shape for journalists. For journalists, if you know you are covering the election on Saturday, you would have applied to the INEC portal, and they would have processed you, and ultimately, this is what you will get. So if you don't have this, you are not eligible to cover the election on Saturday. Even if you're a policeman, if you are a registered observer, you must have a kind of accreditation from the Independent National Electoral Commission. And it says Anambra State Governorship Election, Organization, TVC, name, gender, designation, and it was signed by the Secretary of the Independent National Electoral Commission. So you are not allowed to move around. This is the first day we ask. We have some other kits, so many other kits. We have a face cap, a reflective jacket, and we have this election duty sticker on every car you are going to take out on Saturday. That you can't just take any vehicle outside without that election duty sticker. All these measures put in place by the Independent National Electoral Commission so that everybody on Saturday, we know who is who. Movement is going to be restricted. The first spokesperson, PRO, came here this morning, and I interviewed him, and he told me that it's going to be restricted, that movement will be restricted. Even policemen would not be allowed. Even people that are contesting the election, candidates, will not, there are a number of policemen that they are allowed to go to the polling unit with, and they are not going to bear arms, they are not going to carry arms. All these measures put in place to restore confidence, on voters' confidence, so that people will come out. Ultimately, today, we had General Abdusalami Abubakar coming into town with the National Peace Committee. They came to town, they met with the 18 candidates, and they had to sign a kind of peace pact. We covered it live on TVC, it was live on TVC. So they had to sign that peace pact. Everybody, all the candidates that will be participating on Saturday's election, and the atmosphere was very, very, relaxed. Most of these candidates that have been talking tough and everything, it was an atmosphere. Most of them, they were throwing banters, they were shaking each other's hand, taking photo ops. So it was a very, very good atmosphere that politics should not be about war, politics should not be about fighting and deploying their supporters to cause mayhem in town. And the Inspector General of Police was also represented there, and the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission is still in town, and he has reiterated the readiness of that commission to actually, deploy and make sure that everything goes each free. And talking about the new biometric voter accreditation system, before, if you thumbprint, if you go through the process and they take your thumbprint, and the card reader, the old card reader, if cannot see your thumb or acknowledge your identity, the card reader, you are going to fill what you call an incident form that will allow you to vote. But what we have now is measures put in place to make sure that incident form will never arise. You must be captured, duly accredited before you participate in that system. And what is it telling us? The process of carrying your voter card, that in that voter card, if you have it at home now, you can look at it. At the back, there's a barcode. That barcode will be scanned, and once the barcode is scanned, your face and name and your identity will come out. 1. Number 2, you can also use your thumbprint. Once you use your thumbprint, your name will pop up, and you'll be accredited. And the final phase of it, if you can't go through the process of thumbprinting, at last they will use this system, this biometric voter accreditation system. They will put it right in your face, and it will just bring out your picture. And once your picture is, is confirming what is on the system, it will bring out your name and you'll be duly accredited. So foolproof system. So we don't have situation whereby people are selling voter card, politicians are stockpiling voter card to give to other people, or all sort of funny tales that happen during the election. What you have here is a system that the Independent National Electoral Commission actually test ran this during a by-election in Delta State, and it was a big success, huge success, I would say, and they want to do it in this off-season election, and I'm sure this is what is going to be deployed for the 2023 election. And this is the first time they will be going all out statewide to actually have this system. So that is INEC. In terms of security, everywhere now, all the nooks and crannies, everywhere, there's no place you get to in Oka, at least for the state capital that I'm in, there's nowhere you get to, you can't feel the awesome presence of the might of Nigerian security, talking in terms of Nigerian police, talking in terms of even civil defense and other security agencies. They are everywhere. They are everywhere. So this will restore confidence, and people that are saying that, oh, it's going to be difficult, that this exercise, it's going to be dangerous to enter some places. But what I've seen since the morning, it has restored a kind of confidence in me. I've been able to go to INEC, I've been able to go to Women's Development Center, Women's Development Center, I've been able to move around. And there's this confidence when I'm seeing these people around, and I'm sure the same thing, because the population of people out there in Oka buying and selling, there was even the People's Democratic Party had their final rally in last Ekweme Square. They had their rally, people turned out en masse. So people are still having their final rallies and everything. Don't forget that 12 midnight today is the end of all rallies. From today, that's why out of the 14 items listed by the Independent National Electoral Commission, they said they fulfilled 12. And the final 2 is the end of campaigns for this night and election proper. Election proper will take place, that is on Saturday. So what we are seeing here is something that we expect. I'm not expecting 100% turnout, but I'm expecting an each free process that election will come and it will go. People will come and they will elect the next governor of Anambra State. People will say Anambra will come out, so they will next elect their governor without fear of being molested. Esther.
Our correspondent Aidile Uzubakun live for us from Anambra. Thank you very much for the update there. So, Shola, you've heard what our correspondent has said so far. Indeed, the people are ready for the elections, and INEC seems to be up and ready for what is to come. But what are your expectations, if I will ask?
Well, the die is cast. Ayo has given us a lowdown of the situation on ground there. It's looking good. I mean, one should be excited based on what he has said. They've cleared 10 out of their expectations, remaining 2. But the last 2 are also very important. Making sure that the campaign process is also smooth throughout and people adhere to the deadline given to them, and also the election proper. Yeah, I think the apprehension about security seems to have been at least allayed a bit, because if a journalist is able to move around each free without hindrance and is able to do his job, then it shows, evidence of what we should expect on election day. I think people in Anambra, the Anambra, as they say, should keep it up and let us allow the process to go through.
Right.
Like I mean, in 2015, the Abdusalami Abubakar Peace Committee did a yeoman's job. They were able to get the two major parties, the President Jonathan and President Buhari, to really come together and sign an accord. I think that kind of process is also playing out in Anambra. Let the process be allowed to go through without any problem. Definitely, in a contest, somebody has to win and somebody has to go the other way. I wouldn't use the word loss or lose or whatever. I just see it as a process that can always be repeated another day. So it should not be a do or die thing. People should have the patriotic spirit that will enable you contest an election, and if it goes your way, you take it with a pinch of salt. If it doesn't, you accept. That is the spirit. In the interest of our future, in the interest of the nation, there is a lot of apprehension from the outside world that maybe this can lead to some, volatile, outcome. But what we have seen so far should be encouraging to everybody, should inspire people to do their best. INEC seems to be ready for this, and I hope the process is continued positively the way we are seeing it. It's not impossible. They've done it as reported by Ayo, and we can do it again. We need to encourage them to make sure that, no hanky-panky is allowed. The players, the contestants too, must understand that they have a duty to perform on Saturday. The people too should just go out and, exercise their civic right and let everything be done in the interest of our democracy.
Right.
We have no other way but to be able to do it right on Saturday.
Right.
And that's my take on that.
Right, I understand we still have Aya online. Aya, let me quickly ask you this question before we let you go. What can you tell us about the fears of residents in Anambra? Are they ready to cast their ballot on Saturday?
I think because of the conflicting signals people are getting ahead of Saturday's election, some people are saying that, there's going to be this sit at home from the 5th to on the 10th. But with the security I'm seeing on ground, people are encouraged to come out without being molested. Because the way we've seen it, when we got here, we've discovered that the situation might have been over-exaggerated. It's not as bad as it's painted in the media. It's not as bad as it's being peddled out there. So people are not leaving Anambra en masse. People are not leaving town. People are just being cautious, and they're just being cautious of where to go and the kind of directive they will listen to. Because you have a situation whereby the government of the day, the state government in the southeast, they are not so effective. People don't listen to them. It is non-state actors. They have non-state actors, and they have effective way of communicating to people. And once they've started saying from the 5th to on the 10th, there won't be movement. Maybe people will listen to them. I don't know. But the presence of security that I've seen today, and I can tell you with what the Inspector General of Police actually said yesterday, he actually said, he described those people as subversive elements, that they are going to clamp down on them heavily. And this is a big deal for the Nigerian police. It's something that they are prepared for. And according to Frank Kumba, they've even paid all the allowances, things that will make them compromise the system, things that will not make their morale to be boosted. They've done a lot of things to get them to Anambra. And from what I'm seeing, from those people I've spoken to, the show of force that have been exhibited all around Oka today, that they are good to go.
All right, so and that's the fine place.
It would be very encouraging not to leave this exercise on Saturday to the hands of just politicians. If over 2.5 million people are registered in Anambra State, I expect people to come out overwhelmingly to elect whoever they want without any fear of favor.
All right, that's where we have to wrap up for now.
It will give
Ideally, apologies, but we have to. Coming up on Saturday. Following the collapse of a 21-story building in Ikoyi, Lagos, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has vowed that the incident will not be swept under the carpet, and he is walking the talk. The governor has set up a 6-man probe panel to investigate the circumstances leading to the collapse of the building on Garage Road in Ikoyi. The governor has also issued a 30-day timeline to the panel of inquiry to conclude its assignment. And he has promised to sign an executive order to give the panel a legal backing. Meanwhile, the death toll has continued to rise, and as at last count, 38 bodies have been recovered, with 9 victims rescued, while others are still trapped in the rubble. Let's share some highlights of the inauguration of the panel with you.
Officially permitted by the governor. So help me God. Oh, hold on. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance.
The time has come to hold the bull by the horn and let justice prevail. As panel members, we promise to be guided by professional standards and hope that we will collectively be able to chart a new course that will guarantee the safety of the life of the Nigerian citizen as far as the construction industry is concerned.
You have all of the instrumentality of office, of a government official to do whatever it is you want to do, and do it without fear or favor. To someone to ask, to request, to charge, to engage anybody that you so wish to appear before you and to seek information and clearance as into what will help you achieve unbiased, transparent recommendation. Justice will be done, and people that are found culpable will not only be sanctioned, but learning and lessons coming out from this will be used to guide our dealings going forward.
Well, that's the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu speaking there. Now, Tunde, the members of the panel, we understand, announced by the governor, are all from the private sector, and the team has 30 days to submit its report. What do you make of this?
Well, I think, first of all, I still believe that a public inquiry would have been better than a panel. A public inquiry will go back into the history of such incidences in Nigeria, look at our system, because it's a systemic failure that has happened. It is not just an individual. Because if the system is okay, like people talk about institution, no individual, because we have seen we have written a lot of things, we have read a lot of things that happened before that thing happened. So a public inquiry will embolden people to come out and tell us what has happened in the past, not only about this thing. So when the public inquiry is there, people will be bold enough to come out. Having said that, I just believe that it is a charge, it's a test for this government to show that the report of that inquiry will not, as usual, be swept under the carpet. The governor did promise that it will not be so, but let us also hope that. But my own take from it is that if we could take somebody to subvert the system, and you know, there are conflicting reports either from the Excellency, the Deputy Governor said indeed 21 floor was approved, and initially the general manager of the agency said it was 15 that was approved, and he has been asked to stop. So let us know, let the inquiry show us what really happened there. Now, number 2 is the fact that you know that Cocoa House was the first tallest building in Nigeria that was built probably over 60 years ago. That house experienced a fire, in fact, about 2 decades ago. The place is still standing. People have been using it probably before I was born, and that place is still standing. Yes, this one is under construction. It came down where it is here to be finished. It shows that a lot of things is wrong with our system. Because if the system is okay, nobody can buy or bribe or subvert the system. So let the inquiry go down into the nitty-gritty of the whole thing, so that it can serve as a lesson and as a paper presented by the government. One man came out, I think it was the chairman of the Building Society of Nigeria, something that as far back as 1986, a consortium of all the groups, the architects, the quantity surveyor came out to draft a legislation, a bill for Nigeria to be accepted as the code for building. The thing was not approved until probably 2005. That was 20 years after the thing has gathered dust. So the challenge for the governor is that to do things in a different way. Yes, it is so easy to to talk, to say people come and talk. But let him put everything in place that he has said to make sure that the system is allowed to work. No file must disappear. Nobody must be killed in the process of this thing, because this is a system or a probe that required people that have sunk their millions. I learned that some people have already even paid for that particular place. So let us be thorough. Let us do something that will leave a legacy for generations to come. Let us farm up the system from the building, from the approval, from the conception, and for the quality control. And you know what? Lagos State government even set up, during the regime of our Governor Batunde Fashola and Anambra, they even set up a material testing laboratory to test the quality of your either iron rod that is supposed to be 12. The contractor will come and supply 10.5. That will affect the building. The cement that you are going to use, the sand that you are going to use. These are quality control, because you can put it on paper. But how are we ensuring that the quality is controlled? Because it is more or less of quality control. So, having said all these things, let the governor summon enough courage to close his eyes and publish that report.
Right.
30 days, he gave them 30 days from today, which means by December 4, they have to conclude their report. By January or February, let the report come out, and let proper legislation be made to change our system, to reorientate officials that will be in charge of this thing. And if you can do this thing, you will have gone a long way in correcting the anomaly. We have never had it like this, 38 bodies. You can imagine how many families that have been affected.
And traumatized with this incident. Shola, what do you make of this arrangement, and how confident are you about this new panel?
What I know is that looking at the way he's handled things in the past, his response to the COVID something, the governor is a thorough human being. I can see sincerity. And now he must be a man of sorrow, because these are his co-citizens. You know, nobody planned for this kind of thing to happen, and you can start see the body count is mounting every day. Anybody would be very sad about this, not to mention the chief executive of the state. Now, he has a very, very strong situation in his hands, and he has to handle it to the best of his ability. He has set up a probe panel. I do not want it to be another white paper fantasy where white paper will be released, eventually it comes to nothing. He must make sure there is enough teeth given to this probe panel to be able to back and bite. We need to get to the root. It's becoming, too frequent. Just a day after this one, I learned there was another one that happened. It shows that there is something wrong with the system. You have to go beyond even whoever is being considered the culprit. Those who aided and abetted or whatever, everybody must be probed. You have to go to the process that led to what we're having. You have to get to the root of what kind of material, what kind of quality control was put in place. Were there corners being cut by people? Was there anything done that should not have been done? I learned there was a time when certain warnings were given. This place was sealed some times ago. Who reopened that place? Who allowed this process to go on even despite the fears? People are dead now. Families are in sorrows. But not only that, there is the fear. You're talking of the real estate industry in Lagos, the effect of this on that, the economy of Lagos, the families that are losing breadwinners, a young lady with dreams about the future going into that place and then getting her life cut short, somebody trying to travel abroad with dreams and dreams only to have the dream truncated right away. A lot of evil things happening because of this one collapse of a building. But something caused it. There is a root to this. You have to get to the root. His Excellency must make sure that, we've been hearing a lot of probes and probes upon probes to the extent that people are getting tired. They will just say, is it not another probe? But I think something should come out of this. Let us know. I love what the chairman of the panel said, that they are ready to hold the bull by the horn. Not only hold the bull by the horn, make sure that you ensure that that bull is not taken to the China shop. Ensure that we have a very concrete result. We'll be having building collapses and it's getting to more. You just make reference to Cocoa House. I was there recently and I wondered, by the kind of strength, something built several decades ago, what system made that possible? What were the things being done by the people of the past, the people in the Ministry of Housing or whatever, those who command, control the way buildings are put up in Lagos State? What are those things being done that are not being done now? We need to go back to the drawing board and make sure that we get people who are really patriotic enough to handle things like this. People who are not carried away by the greed, the pecuniary things that will make you cut corners because of money. Not thinking about the life of people. Imagine people with dreams, people who had ambition, and then you cut their life short. You destroy the family. I don't even know how they're going to get closure because some people have not even been found out under the rubbles. So there is a lot of tragic stories surrounding this. And to be able to mitigate the tragedy, the governor must take a very bold step. And I hope what he has said, he will be able to carry it through. Yes.
Indeed, well said. Now, Tunde, talking about the families, we understand that some are still in search of their loved ones, and the state government has set up a medical base and information desk at the site of the building collapse. Now, to offer, well, information on their identities so far. Now, this, to an extent, can assuage, more or less, the grief of the families, don't you think?
Well, I think, yes, but like I said, I mentioned the issue of the system. There are a lot of people that will have left their homes for that particular place without telling their family. So that gives you the problem of actually locating them. So that is the essence where we say that communication is very, very important in any system. And for a project of this magnitude, there must be somebody to be held responsible, either the chief contractor or the head of the main contractor that is handling that place. You must be able to know how many people have come into site one day and those people who are leaving. Without taking a census of those people coming into site, you cannot know actually how many people are involved. It could take months for us to know. Like, because of the factor I said, a lot of people have left their home. A lot of people were drafted onto that site that very day. A lot of people were just passing by and they asked them, by the manner the place is in, to come and join. So the family cannot even begin to trace their movement. So the most important thing is that this society is a society that we must use data, we must use communication, and we must have a profile everybody that's in this society so that people can know where you are at any point in time. Because as it is now, if nobody can come out and say how many workers do come there every day to work, it will not be difficult for you. You only rely on probability of the possibility of the evacuation team to be able to bring out almost everybody inside that place. Until the task is finished, we cannot say specifically, because of our system, how many people are involved in that particular place. So I think it's also, like I said, it's a lesson for us to be thorough. There should be a code for all those other contractors, building contractors, architects, manning strategic buildings like this to be used every day. For instance, in banks now, it is very possible for bank to know how many people has come out every day, to go into the bank and has come out every day by the paper people feed, by a lot of things. So let us do things like this, like that. So that, you know, do you know that even people traveling by air, some people, I don't know whether they have changed now, they will just enter aircraft, they won't be manifest. People traveling between Lagos and Ibadan in any commercial bus, I know they use it, they must write manifest so that you begin to know how many people have traveled. Without manifest, we cannot get to the root of this thing. But if people have already gone there without taking a census of those people who work there every day, we only rely on probability. That is, if the excavators and rescue team are ready to get to the last foundation. The ground zero. Because ground zero, how do you call it? To know those people who are trapped inside. Right. Or whether that, you know, Lagos State the terrain is different from Ibadan. Right. Or it's different from Abuja. So you don't even know to what depth this building has sunk because of the weight of theirs. Because what it shows is that the depth, the foundation is wrong. And when the foundation is wrong, the building can collapse.
And so far, we understand official figures say 32 bodies have been recovered from the building collapse as against 38 earlier reported. Welcome back. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. Now let's turn our attention to the recent abduction from the University of Abuja. Shola, we understand the abductors are demanding 50 million naira each per head. Where do we go from here?
I think we are in a kind of vicious circle. You know, this thing was begging to happen. And I thought, considering what has been happening in nearby communities, in Niger State, in schools across the north, a national university like this should have been properly guarded. It was begging to happen. That it happened is a huge slap on the security situation in Abuja. Abuja is our federal capital. The University of Abuja is the national pride. And when something like this had to happen in that institution, then it calls to question a lot of things. I just don't know how to, I can't fathom this kind of situation where the academic community cannot even have the rest of mind to be able to go about their daily duties of bringing our children to the proper level they should get to as citizens of this country. You see institutions being raped by, so-called kidnappers, bandits, terrorists, going into, it's just unfathomable. But you know what? I think it's time for us to really go back to the drawing board about our security situation in this country. It is not, a given that kidnappers want to, go to the schools and get up because they see them as soft targets. They go there with impunity. It keeps recurring, and it's just disheartening that nothing is being done to curb this. To me, I'll address Mr. President. That's a slap on your face as the president of this country, because that is right at your doorstep. And we have to do something about this. The situation is dicey. People have been saying don't negotiate with terrorists. It's like the fable of a king telling you to go on an errand, and then the river is filled to the brim. You cannot refuse the errand of the king, yet you cannot cross the river, lest to die. So what are we going to do? Now that redo is left for the presidency, the people in charge of our security in the country to sort out. But most important thing, the citizenry is in jeopardy if this continues every day. And when it's getting to a level, people are going to rise up. I think it's becoming too frequent, and we who really are discerning people, we have to say something about this. What is happening to our security? Our education, we're talking about the dwindling educational fortune of the country. And this is happening to our institutions. I think it's unacceptable. We have to find a way of securing the schools.
Right.
Every day, kidnappers now believe that they can just enter any school, take people out and start demanding money, and nothing. We have not seen any sign that anything is being done to curb it. It's not acceptable.
It's saddening.
No one should
I can
be
understand
about this.
Yeah, point taken there, Shola. But,
Yeah.
Tunde, what other options do you think need to be explored in this situation?
Well, the options that we have to explore is that the main problem with us is that we always run away from the real thing. You see, if you don't attract a problem from the foundation, you can hardly solve it. When there's a problem, you get to the nitty-gritty. Look at what led to that particular problem. The problem with us in this country is that we always cry after effect. We look at the effect, we don't look at the source. To me, up to today, the federal government is yet to assess why we have so much security challenge in this country. And they cannot assess it if their mind is closed. If they still believe that it is some people that are hyping it, if they still believe that some people somewhere are doing it, if we assess our challenges, we'll be able to know prefer solutions to our challenges. But without any sentiment, assessing those challenges, you cannot solve it. The other time a character came out and was saying that anybody that declare bandits as terrorists, that they should end Nigeria. I am very surprised that we have a sitting government in Nigeria today, and somebody who is in cahoot, one way or the other, with bandits, with kidnappers, and the person can talk anyhow, and nobody, which means that There are some people in high places in Nigeria today who can do anything and get it away with it, depending on which side they are in. So all these things, the allegation of all these scenarios that we are seeing is that the government is incapable of analyzing our problems.
Well, let's move over to the incident. Let's move over to the incident in Borno State, where 2 police officers, we understand, and a soldier have died in the battle with the suspected ISWAP terrorist in Malam Faturi, which is considered the strongest base of the Boko Haram terrorists. How would you react to this?
We'll do that because, you know, all this, we have all this leakage because there's no information sharing. Okay, let me tell you. What instrument do these people plan this use to contact the parents or relatives of those kidnapped? Is telecommunication. In some areas of Zamfara, Katsina, and Kaduna State, they switch off the national telecom. And yet they are still using this thing. What are they using? That's why I said, if the problem is not properly analyzed, we cannot. What are they using? They use telephone to contact, to negotiate for ransom. Then what are we doing? What kind of are they using telephone from Niger?
What have we done to trace the
Are they using telephone from Niger, from Chad, from Mauritania, or from Algeria, so that you cannot trace it? They are using our facility here. So the problem now is that we are just making our citizens more vulnerable than any other thing. Nigeria is the only country whose citizens can just die any day. The other time, about 6 months ago, about 7 Marines came from the US and they was able to successfully release a hostage held by captives. America can do that. They can invest $100 million to save a life, but Nigeria cannot invest. We can invest money on legislators and people who are doing nothing to our life. So the problem is that we continue wasting our human resources. We continue wasting our students. Now that the gates of higher institutions are open to them, they have gone. Let us assume that secondary schools, they are vulnerable. Now, higher institution that has security, that is a universe on its own. People can go there, do what they like, and go away. And be, okay, how much is the salary of a professor that you are asking him to go and bring 50 million naira? That's 20 million. The other time in Kaduna State, parents that paid 80 million, they have to sell their houses.
Apologies,
if you sell your house for 5 million, if you sell your house for 5 million.
Well, that's where we have to leave the discussion. I can imagine the passion you have to talk about this, because it's, you know, if it continue, we cannot end this in this very episode of today's show. But that's where we have to wrap up this day's edition of Journalist Hangout. Many thanks for being a part of it. Don't forget, you can also watch a repeat broadcast tonight at 11, and also don't forget to join us again at Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Many thanks, my guests in the studio, Tunde Abato and Shola Ojewusi. We appreciate your insights on Journalist Hangout. I am Esther Mokwariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.